Ladies and gentlemen, please give a Digital Currency Con welcome to my man, Michael Prover.
Thank you, and it's good to be here. While he's pulling that up, I want to point something out when we look at this logo here. Remember how he talked about the trees and the branches and the trunk? If you look at the logo, you'll actually see something that represents the trees, the branches, the trunk, but also what's most important from our perspective is where you actually start. And that's actually at the roots, where the seed's at, so to speak. That's a cool one. That's simple. Okay. So when you look at, let's see if the laser works. So when you look down here, you actually see little elements of what we refer to as kind of the foundation or the roots for all of this to actually take hold and get out there to the world. Little dots represent these little nodes. We'll talk about those. First, I'll tell you a little bit about the team and our history because it's very relevant and very important. So hopefully you see that there's an element of maturity, element of responsibility, and an element of staying power. He talked about 95% of these things disappear. Well, we've been doing it for almost 9 years. We actually have 9 different offices around the world, 91 team members, a lot of nines in there, just a quinky dink. And there's over 103,000 community members in the ClearFoundation community that specifically focus on primarily ClearOS type applications. There's 158 apps in this marketplace. So when we talk about it, there's a team that actually has worked together for a very long time. We're very well clicked, so to speak. On average, we work together for 13 years per person on average. That's unheard of, at least in our perspective from this ecosystem. Offices range from here in Utah. So we actually have a presence here, New Zealand, 2 in India, 2 in Canada, and then also Athens, Austria, as well as in Greece. So kind of a global footprint. We're developing around the clock in different kind of projections, so to speak. You can kind of see them illustrated here. They all have their own different focus on what they do, how they do it, and their measurements. We're all about measurements. So you can't manage scale and growth without having understanding, whether it's results or outcomes, especially accountability. We actually have roots that go back in the technology industry pretty dang far when you look at it. 2000 is when we actually started building a managed service provider that actually manages environments on-premise. Helped create a global managed service provider sector. So it's a $256 billion industry now. We're very influential in doing that, along with Intel, actually in 2001. In 2005, we bumped into some technology, which we'll talk a little bit about. And then in 2009, actually went to go and build that technology specifically for decentralized environments. We have team members that actually got involved in this in 2009 in a very material way, specifically with Bitcoin, and whether it's on speculating or making money or providing value or bringing strength or stability. And we finally feel that it's time to actually bring out a responsible approach to being able to adopt what we call nodes. And that's what we're all about, is how do you actually distribute this on-premise, so to speak. These are companies that we've been involved in building, and there's literally over 320 years of management that we've actually helped to build these different companies. This is actually the first product. You can actually see this server. It's the technology works on any server that's x86 based in the world, but specifically there's servers that we actually do some things that work with the hardware and the silicon to the virtualization layer, to the operating system layer, to the marketplace. Remember we talked about the roots. Everything that the gentleman before me just talked about, Jared, all of this stuff is taken for granted. That the actual systems are hardened. They're actually secure. You don't have vulnerabilities. For the last 9 years, Intel's been shipping chips that have vulnerabilities in the virtualization layer. We solve those types of things. When you look at AMD, HPE, and ClearCenter coming together to build on this platform that ClearFoundation basically brought, this is an illustration of a product that we actually launched last June. So it just gives you kind of a history of what we've done. I'll talk a lot more about the specifics of what this partnerships and many others actually do. Most of you actually have a phone, right? And like I said earlier, we basically have seen a consolidation of all these different types of devices over here that basically now are apps inside of an environment here that really runs on one, an open source platform, Android or iOS, two, a marketplace. Okay, so open source platform, marketplace. This is an example of what we've already seen happen in an ecosystem of what we're doing. But we're not doing it at the mobile layer. We're doing it at the node layer. Okay? So we basically replace all these different manufacturers that do these different types of features and functions in these server, network, and gateway layer, which is really where the nodes should sit. and combine those into one operating system that sits on one hardware device that basically does certain things. Those things can be running Dapps or decentralized environments similar to what Jared's doing. Does this make sense? You see how they fit together? It's very important to have a foundation that's solid like this. It's actually imperative if we're actually going to get serious and talk about Dapps that run at scale that don't have vulnerabilities for the future. Okay? I hope this makes sense because this is the core of what we do. There's a lot more. Go ahead and take pictures. We can actually provide this whole deck. Anybody that's interested, just there's a booth or just let us know. Literally, we'll send you the whole thing. So when you look at it today, whoever talked about Microsoft earlier, we got to make it simpler, we got to make it usable, it's got to be clickable. This interface here is what most of these systems run on, command line. Different flavors of open sourced command lines, right? So ClearOS particular basically has a web-based interface on the right and a marketplace attached to it. So it's very usable, very scalable, and it not only works on-premise, but it can also work off-premise and synchronize them together. So the usability and functionality is very, very scalable. Does this make sense? These are some of the applications. It's kind of hard to see on the projector, but I'll tell you about them. There's, again, 153 today, 158 by the end of this month. But basically, they'll do different things such as integration with different environments. So there's Dropbox integration, there's a Google integration, there's a Microsoft integration, firewalls, print servers, messaging servers, intrusion detection system, file systems. These are all different apps that actually can be layered on top of this. 85% of them are all absolutely free. The operating system itself are absolutely free. This is how you get these systems out there to the world. When I start talking about adoption, you'll start understanding why there's value and importance here. Who here runs a node at your home or your business? Okay. And when we talk about the complexity of setting these nodes up, there's a high learning curve to actually getting it figured out in all reality, at least the first couple times. But who knows how many nodes are actually running, let's say Bitcoin and Ethereum, one or the other are combined? Anybody? There's about 12,000 on average in any given time, okay? So you think about that. 12,000 of these things actually have to get disseminated, start working. And some of them are combined with like miners and things like that. But think about that from your mind around how big the world is, how many things are actually, we're talking about with blockchain, and 12,000. In this particular time, there's only 10,000 we're looking at. When these nodes actually get deployed, who knows where these nodes go? So do they run on your phone? I've seen some of them run on phones. So down here at kind of the access device layer, they run on phones or tablets, or most of them will be on laptops or desktops. We believe that all those locations are actually wrong. We believe that it's very important for that server, network, and gateway layer to be combined into one system, a simplified system. Think about it. You guys all go home and you usually plug in, whether you're going to a hotel, it doesn't matter. You plug into some wireless access point that's connected to the internet in some form. That router and those devices that connect you. For instance, here in this hotel, they'll actually have a captive portal that'll take your room number and then put you out. That's another application. So basically combining all of this into one software stack that runs these nodes or these servers and firewalls and route, all of it with one system in one location that actually always has power, at least they hope, and always has an internet connection, you hope, that is more stable than any of this other stuff. That's where nodes should run. That's what we're all about, is having one device that runs. On average, we actually have 29 access devices that connect to each node on average. Guess how many nodes there are in the world that we've deployed over the years? I'll tell you in a second. When we run these applications on it, there are specific Dapps that can actually focus on. The first ones that we're looking at are around identity. Sam here helped actually build Sovereign Identity here in Utah. It's ClearFoundation, which is an identity management platform where you can actually light up a node and become a steward to actually help with identity management. Beautiful solution. I believe it will be the standard for the future. There'll be many other applications or use cases, and there may be lots of different companies that do them, maybe lots in healthcare, lots in banking. Banking or finance is when we talk about Ethereum and Bitcoin and all that is in the finance world. There's many more sectors and verticals that are actually yet to be fulfilled when it comes to actually populating or at least getting to market with this. And there's a lot more than this when you look at it. There's a lot of use cases, and there's a lot of details behind these use cases. It's massive. But if you take specific line of business apps and you have a platform to build them on, the ability to get out and scale actually becomes very real, really fast. So this is ClearOS. Remember when I said in 2005 we actually bumped into this technology? That technology started in 2000 out of Carnegie Mellon. It's brilliant, it's beautiful, it's called ClearOS. Hewlett-Packard Enterprise actually pre-installs this technology on all servers worldwide. They didn't do that with Microsoft, they didn't do that with VMware, Red Hat, none of them. This is a very valuable, tried, true, and tested technology that literally provides a foundation not for just IT, but for blockchain nodes. There's over 450,000 of them that have been deployed around the world in over 150 countries and over 68 languages. That's maturity, that's stability that this industry needs to build its roots on. When you look at it, there are a lot of users. Remember that 29 users that we talked about? There's about 100 to 130, maybe 150 new registrations a day. To register it, they download this package, they put it on an x86-based server, and they actually register it back to the system. That's when we see, hey, there's some activity, something's gone on. The rest of it is all, it's built to be private and on-premise. Security, privacy, it's not right that it's being ripped away from us. This empowers the individuals, the homes, to be able to have it. I'm actually blown away. There's over, it's actually less than 30%, but still 30% of homes are figuring out how to do this on their own. It's actually complex still, in my opinion. It's got to get simpler. And when we talk about ClearNode, it'll be a lot simpler. But basically, ClearOS, very valuable platform. In addition to it, there's ClearVM, which sits underneath it. So the virtualization layer, before you talk about the operating system layer, is ClearVM. Fully patented technology, not patent pending, fully issued patent. Okay? And when you talk about it, you can actually install not just ClearOS, but any operating system that you want. In this particular area, there are 38 templates. I think there's 42 now. So this is like Microsoft, Red Hat, SUSE, Ubuntu, any Windows, you name the operating system, you can grab the template, pull it down. It's all web-based, and it literally, it simplifies how virtualization works, okay? When we talk about gateway management, this is, in my opinion, what has enabled us to actually launch a product that we'll be talking about with ClearNode. But ClearGM is actually a service that is built on gateway management, which a lot of the different OEMs, so some of you in this room have heard about next generation firewalls or UTMs. Think about it from a totally different standpoint. Earlier you heard me talk about responsibility. We actually take this technology, either enable you to do it, or offer it as a service, and literally block all of the internet, all ports, all URLs, all access, and then use machine learning based upon a user's request from one location to another to allow that in real time. It actually speeds up the internet connection for that user. Why? If a user wants to go to CNN, you would be amazed at all the remarketing and the other fluff that's sitting on this. It's just, one, it's an absolute waste. Two, you didn't ask for it. Talk about some of the stuff that's going on in Germany. But make a long story short, it uses very intelligent machine learning to map the whole of the internet and how it all relates, and then apply it to really creating new forms of secure webs. So think about it. If we actually have a secure environment, we talk about some of the vulnerabilities to blockchain. I won't even get into details, but when we talk about the 43% attack or the 51% attack, a little different conversation. This will actually help to thwart or fight against any of those types of vulnerabilities with some of the other systems. So we talked about ClearOS, ClearVM, ClearGM, and we're going to specifically see a movie on a new product, ClearNode.
Digital currencies are here to stay, but reliability and security threats are real and need to be addressed. Every day you see new reports of hacked hardware, compromised exchanges, and stolen tokens. ClearNode is the solution. ClearNode is a bundle of hardware, software, and services that provides 4 key functions no one else can provide. To harden your system, consolidate resources, secure your network, and even monetize your unused storage. Only ClearNode can harden your system by protecting itself on 4 critical layers: server, chip, disk, and apps, thanks to our advanced security software and HPE's silicon root of trust-based hardware. Consolidate your firewall, unified threat management, servers, gateway, network, and storage capabilities all within one ClearNode running ClearOS. ClearNode's ClearGM protects your devices, local networks, and digital wallets by using machine learning to allow only approved connections, This ensures safe transactions, private communication, and data security. Apps from the ClearOS marketplace power ClearNode, so anyone can build on top of the platform. Our first app is ClearShare, a decentralized cloud storage app that is backed by ClearToken and powered by a new type of blockchain. Want more storage? Start sharing your unused disk space. Sharing your storage also farms ClearTokens. Your data and files are encrypted, stored locally, and then sharded, getting distributed through the ClearShare community. You hold the encryption keys, so you maintain total control of your data. ClearNode. Protect your home or business with the first secure backbone and app store for blockchains and digital currencies.
So hopefully that spells it out a lot better than I could in 2 minutes. But basically, ClearNode was just announced at CeBIT in Germany last month. So basically 3 different product lines. These are all tower-based product lines. You can buy them with Clear and or with cash. And specifically, they're focused on home environments, small business environments, or enterprise-based environments. There'll actually be a group of rack-based ones that are focused on more enterprise, distributed enterprise, maybe branch offices and or exchanges. So hopefully this makes sense. Any questions on this before I go forward? Does this all make sense to everybody? Raise your hand if this makes sense to you. Beautiful, beautiful. These are some customers. That's another thing that's massively important. A lot of these different projects you're talking to are just projects. They're not viable businesses with cash flow and stability. We have over 18,000 paying customers that organically use this stuff because it actually works. The technology works. When you look at it, it's actually a freemium-based model. So those customers were adopted with no salespeople. It was adopted because the technology is stable and secure, and we give it away. People that actually want solutions, they can use it, they can adopt it. It's never going to be bricked. It always gets security updates. It's never going to get charged for. It's open source. The ClearFoundation based out of New Zealand for a couple of reasons. One, copyright laws are solid and stable, right? Intellectual property law, from a patent standpoint, they don't offer any software patent. They don't kill the innovation realities. So what that means is open source can actually thrive. This technology is open source, along with other projects that kind of plug into it, but you can see the adoption curve to turn into those paid customers. It's organic, it's there. So some of the things that we'll actually be focused on over the future is helping to intelligently deploy a token, what we call the Clear token. And the Clear token is kind of unique in how proceeds from it and value from it will actually be spent. So we're not here just to take money and to raise our hands and say we want ICO-based money. We're not looking for that. What we're looking for are people to get involved, to light up nodes, to actually be a part of the ecosystem. And if there is value derived, which there already is and there will be, we believe that this responsibility endowment will actually be value for future generations, not just this dispensation, but for future generations to actually have stability, whereas governments aren't the ones driving the decisions on how this actually gets adopted. So 50% of all proceeds will actually go towards an energy fund. And this is an energy fund that specifically focuses on tokenized energy. That may not mean anything to you today, but it's very, very, energy. It's, in our opinion, it's not precious metals that's valuable. It's not currency or fiat. It's actually energy. This whole industry, the whole reason we're here is based on energy, not because Bitcoin uses it, which we believe is a big waste. By the way, that's another big area, converting from mining to farming, leveraging storage and capacity based upon energy. Huge shift in the ecosystem. And the other platform will actually go to build out that ecosystem. So 50% of this Clear token will actually go to building a stable blockchain platform, and the other 50% will actually go into an endowment that will focus on energy, the future of energy, renewable energy, not just natural gas and oil and the derivatives or solar or transparent solar, but the future of energy. Most of you haven't even thought of it or think of it. But the elements around how this actually works is very intuitive. So literally, I would highly urge any of you, snag one of these cards, get an invite. They'll be sent out next month. Referrals will come from the invites. And then we literally will give away 10 million tokens every single day for the next 5 years. Very different than what most of these ICOs are all about, but exactly the same to what 2 projects that you've seen. One, Bitcoin, and 2, EOS. EOS actually figured out it's a gamification process of giving it away and getting people engaged. But the reality is you have to have technology on the other side of it to actually deliver that can scale. Not just, oh, can we build something and then hope to get it out there, but how do you update it? How do you patch it? How do your phones work? How do you scale that? That's the infrastructure, that's the back end that we've actually built. So I hope this is resonating with you because there's an action item there for you to go grab one of these right in there. Again, ClearFoundation.com, grab the invite. It's just put your email in, that's it. When you talk about how do you actually get some of these tickets from a long-term standpoint, because some of you are in here, you know how to set up systems, you know how to become nodes, you know how to get active forms you're not scared of. You basically do one of 3 things. You either run ClearOS in your home or your business as a node. Just by registering, you actually get a bunch of tickets that will actually get put into every day we give this distribution away. So if there's 10 people that do it, they get the distribution of 10 million tokens. If there's 1 million people that do it, it's all equally distributed. When you look at it from ClearNodes, if you're not technical and you don't even want to be technical, but you do want to protect your family, literally, just buy a ClearNode. They start at $15.99 US dollars, or about 109,000 clear today. So when you buy a ClearNode, in the United States, in Canada, and in South Africa, we'll actually have it installed in your home, up and running, and remotely managed. Service fees are included for a year. Okay? And then the third way, you can basically donate the equivalent of an Ether. And that can come in EOS or Bitcoin or other formats in the currency world. Any questions around this? Okay. The proceeds, we talked about it, the green tops will actually go into an endowment that will be focused on purchasing energy. The rest of it will be allocated in specific areas that are very accountable, very disciplined, and very transparent. When you talk about the supply, this talks about how, so everything that you've seen is all fully self-funded. 20% of everything that you've seen so far, whether on a foundation or ClearCenter side of it, basically goes into 20% of this, a vesting period over 3 years. Very fair, very valuable. It's already proven. The rest of it, so 50% of it will actually go into that token supply of the 10 million per day for 5 years. And then there's elements that will actually go into the storage element of rewards. So what the industry knows today as, well, some of you know storage and kind of how they're focused on farming, but it's kind of the next generation of it. So literally it's built on capacity, on storage, not necessarily built on energy. So there's going to be some rewards there. When you look at it, it's kind of hard to see on the screen, but effectively, we call it a Bonanza giveaway. And that's actually starting this next month is when the invites go out. So we've been building this for almost 9 years, and now is the time to actually start getting involved monetarily, or I should say from a token standpoint, getting a node set up. There'll be Dapps that will be continually dropped on this, and you can light them up and get rewards, and whatever ecosystems there are. Time frame for distribution, I won't spend a lot of time, I really don't want to go over, but do you have any questions or thoughts or comments? Mr. Buddha, we got time for 3 or any or none or?
Probably just one.
Okay.
Sorry, Mike.
Feedback? Thoughts? No questions after all that. For real.
So clear. Get it?
Hey. How